Stan's number is 602-567-6109. That's 602-567-6109. And these numbers and the address will be repeated again at the end of the program. Let me recap a little bit about what we covered in the first half. America's founders, dear listeners, embraced a previously unheard of political philosophy, and it's just that, a philosophy. I'm not talking religion here. I'm not talking about the Christian church or the followers of Muhammad or the nation of Islam or the Judaism or Buddhism or anything else. This was a philosophy that this very nation depends upon. For our forefathers knew that the security for liberty and an ageless constitution is based upon lasting principles. And they embraced a previously unheard of political philosophy which held that people are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. This was the statement of guiding principle for the new nation, and as such had to be translated into a concrete charter for government. The Constitution of the United States of America became that charter. Other forms of government, past and present, rely on the state as the grantor of human rights. America's founders, however, believed that a government made up of imperfect people exercising power over other people should possess only limited powers. Through their Constitution, they wished to secure the blessings of liberty for themselves and for posterity by limiting the powers of government. Through it, they delegated to government only those rights they wanted it to have, holding to themselves all powers not delegated by the Constitution. They even provided the means for controlling those powers they had granted to government. This was the unique American idea. Many problems we face today result from a departure from this basic concept. Gradually, other ideas have influenced legislation, which has reversed the roles and given government greater and greater power over individuals. Early generations of Americans pledged their lives to the cause of individual freedom and limited government, and warned over and over again that eternal vigilance would be required to preserve that freedom for posterity. John Jay said this, quote, "Let virtue, honor, the love of liberty be the soul of this Constitution, and it will become the source of great and extensive happiness to this and future generations. Vice, ignorance, and want of vigilance will be the only enemies able to destroy it." Unquote. America's founders knew that it takes more than a perfect plan of government to preserve liberty. Something else is needed. Some moral principle diffused among the people to unite and strengthen the urge to peaceful observance of law. They recognized that the raw materials of a free government are people who can act morally without compulsion, who do not willfully violate the rights of others, and who love liberty enough to demand that government's power is very, very limited. They used the word virtuous to describe such people. Defined by Webster, virtue is a conformity to a standard of right. But whatever word is used to describe it, such a moral standard is the necessary fountainhead to a free society. The Declaration of Independence referred to nature's God, the Creator, the supreme judge of the world, and divine providence. Our nation's founders came together voluntarily to create a limited government to secure for them and posterity their God-given rights to life, liberty, and property. Such liberty, they believed, rested on three great supports. 1, natural law and unalienable natural rights granted by the Creator. 2, a written constitution to assure a government of laws, not of rulers. And number 3, virtue among the people, the best defense against tyranny. Their own words are eloquent reminders of their devotion to this belief. In George Washington's farewell address, he said this, quote, "Of all the dispositions and habits which lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. It is substantially true that virtue or morality is a necessary spring of popular government." Unquote. Samuel Adams, quote, "We may look up to armies for our defense, but virtue is our best security. It is not possible that any state should long remain free where virtue is not supremely honored." Unquote. And John Adams, quote, "Virtue must underlay all institutional arrangements if they are to be healthy and strong. The principles of democracy are as easily destroyed as human nature is corrupted." Unquote. Our forefathers seem to know much more about human nature than we seem to know today. And Alexis de Tocqueville, the French statesman who traveled across America in the 1830s and wrote a 2-volume study entitled, quote, "Democracy in America," unquote, is widely quoted as observing this, quote, "America is great because she is good. And if America ever ceases to be good, America will cease to be great." Unquote. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. Our Declaration of Independence acknowledges a Creator as the source of the unalienable rights that governments are formed to secure. And it is something that most Americans have either forgotten or were never taught. This acknowledgement was the very foundation of the Constitution of the United States of America. What are those unalienable rights with which we are endowed? They may be described in many ways, but English jurist Sir William Blackstone wrote in 1766, quote, "These may be reduced to 3 principal articles. 1, the right of personal security, or life. 2, the right of personal liberty, and 3, the right of private property." America's written Constitution was to protect and secure God-given individual rights to life, liberty, and property. If we ever allow this foundation to be eroded and lose faith that these rights are a gift directly from God to each and every individual, then we lose the basis of the greatness of the miracle of America, the foundation stone upon which the Declaration of Independence was written, the Constitution was written and adopted, and the first 10 amendments were introduced and ratified and are now known as the Bill of Rights, and this nation would crumble to dust around our feet. Natural law is the ultimate source of constitutional law, and natural law is God's law. Man must necessarily be subject to the laws of his Creator. This will of his Maker is called the law of nature. This law of nature is, of course, superior to any other. No human laws are of any validity if contrary to this, and such of them as are valid derive all their force from this original. Sir William Blackstone, an eminent English jurist. The founders did not establish the Constitution for the purpose of granting rights. There are no constitutional rights. Rather, they established this government of laws, not a government of men, in order to secure each person's Creator-endowed rights to life, liberty, and property. Only in America did a nation's founders recognize that rights, though endowed by the Creator as unalienable prerogatives, would not be sustained in society unless they were protected under a code of law which was itself in harmony with a higher law. They called it natural law or nature's law. Such law is the ultimate source and established limit for all of man's laws, and is intended to protect each of these natural rights for all of mankind. The